Hi, how are you?
Hi, so nice to meet you. Thank you for having time today. I found your content a couple of weeks ago on TikTok, and I immediately wanted to check what it is because I thought it's so good. And I started stalking you, like, okay, Instagram, your blog, like super interesting.
I mean, my whole kind of goal is to help people raise their level of awareness, raise their consciousness, so to speak. Or in like spiritual terms, I say like awaken, you know? I
Mhm.
think that word scares a lot of people, but I think what it means to me is really just helping people dive more deeply into reality in general. I think the more that you dive into reality, the more beautiful and spiritual it can become in a way.
Mhm.
So that's kind of my whole goal is helping people awaken, and specifically people that can understand that spiritual side of it, even though it is very much philosophically based.
How did the journey start for you, actually?
Well, I mean, I've always been a pretty present, aware person. Like I just
Yeah.
was very drawn to like the quiet areas, the little hidden gems of
Mhm.
my high school. I'd find the quiet places and um I took a meditation class in high school.
Really, you
That
have something
was,
like that?
yeah, it was pretty
What?
cool,
Yeah, how good is
right?
that?
Isn't that awesome? So
Yeah, we don't have that at school.
I started meditating in high school, and then I went on a retreat to a monastery my senior year of high school, where I
Wow.
got to see the monks there. They're like Christian. It's a Christian sect, but it was
Mhm.
a like pretty silent monastery, which is pretty cool. And just got more further into that. And it wasn't until I had an experience about 2 years ago, or like maybe it was like a year ago,
Mhm.
where I had a uh, so-called awakening. I That's a
Yeah.
word that scares a lot of people, so I use it sparingly, but it's really the best word to use. So I had a awakening where I had a profound truth hit me,
And how
an
did it feel?
experiential.
What did it feel like?
For me,
Mhm.
I detached from my body.
Mhm.
I kind of disassociated,
Yeah.
where I had an experience where I was in a blink of an eye. I went from thinking that I was this human being named Ryan
Yeah.
to then observing this human being named Ryan
Mhm.
somewhere else. And it was like a very profound thing where I was like, oh my gosh,
What's
I'm
that?
watching myself and I'm separate from myself right now somehow.
Yeah. Wow. And it just came overnight, this experience. So it just started
It
to
just hit me.
happen.
I was working with a coach at the time and
Hmm.
they helped me get there, but it hit me out of nowhere.
I'm having these kind of experiences all the time, sometimes in between while I'm working or while I'm doing something, that I start observing myself and yeah, I just don't feel like I'm in my body or I'm doing that stuff. I just watch myself doing it, and that's sometimes a little bit um, strange because you
Yeah.
need to get stuff done, and you cannot focus on it because you're just watching yourself from different
Yeah.
perspectives.
And it's such like a I don't know, it's a very pleasant like state to be in. Like you kind of want to just bask in it
Mhm.
a little bit. So I can see how it would be difficult to get stuff done while you're like having one of these interesting new perspectives.
The only thing I cannot relate to is when people talk about multiple awakenings because I don't get that. I mean, I think, or what it feels like for me is like it's a process. So sometimes you have this experience, but not all the time because um, you also get used to what you experience with your senses. So what you see, what you feel, and then you're again in this regular reality somehow. So you don't always detach, but it happens more frequently.
Okay, that's something interesting too
Yeah,
because you shared, when I shared what that experience was like for me, you said that that was very similar to your experience as
yeah.
well. So I kind of am on your same level with like, is there really multiple types of awakening?
Hmm.
Like, can you have like an awakening of detaching from your body and feeling like you are observing yourself versus like I've heard of having an awakening to infinite love.
Oh, what's that?
Like I've never had that personally, But like I've heard of that being something where like you can access infinite love and that you know what that feels like. So I mean,
Yeah.
I've yet to experience that. I'm just saying, like I've heard of other people possibly getting to that area.
Okay, then I get it. Sometimes I feel extreme connection to everything. It feels like love as a force, as an energy.
So what are you pursuing right now?
I just created this podcast, Insanity, as a safe space for people to start asking questions in general about the world, about themselves, especially about themselves. Because I've realized that we get born into stories already. So we kind of get a name and we identify with this name. We get told that we have a family background. People tell us who we are before we even have the chance to ask ourselves who or what the hell we are. And as we grow older, the story gets more and more real, and people get sad, frustrated, or even depressed. I'm not sure if people would be that sad, frustrated, or depressed if it was about them and not about the story, the self concept that they have about
Yeah,
themselves. Because what
right.
I understand about depression is that it comes from the gap between what you are and the story that you tell yourself, the role that you play.
Yeah.
So the gap between who you are and your identity.
There's
And
like there's something off about what you've been told that you are versus what you really are. And it's
yes,
like you just kind of left in a state of like confusion about how you're feeling and who you are. And that can be confusing, really.
yes, it's confusing, and I'm not sure if the emotions that we have sometimes, if they come from us, or if they come from the story, or if they come from other people, because we are also all connected. And I thought, hey, what if we just start questioning that? And I know it sounds insane because we have to start with ourselves. We have to start with all this what and why questions from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And when I talk to people like that, and I always keep asking why when they tell me something, like, but why, but why, but why? It's like a little child that's a pain in the ass. And um, I think they might think that I'm crazy. And I thought, okay,
Yeah.
then I am, but let's try.
I don't know if you saw, I posted a TikTok video a few days ago about self-inquiry. Self-inquiry. It's been a, a technique for getting to the state that we've just described previously.
Hmm.
Um, it's a technique that's been around for thousands of years in the Hindu tradition specifically. The Hindus came up with this.
Yeah.
And so you're just asking yourself, who am I? What am I? What is this? What who am I? And you just keep asking yourself over and over and over until you get deeper and deeper, and then you realize, oh wait, I'm not my body, maybe I'm my mind. And you're like, who well then what is that? Like who am I up here? Who am I in this personality? And then you can go even before that, and you're like, oh, I'm the observer watching the mind. And if you can go, and then you just keep going and going until you get to closer to the truth.
When you just start asking, then you lose this concept of identity. Then you understand that this is like the surface itself, and it breaks down super quickly. And what's left,
Yeah.
it's really difficult to answer that, right? To,
Yeah, I think people would be surprised as well as to how quickly you can like start to shed some of those layers.
yeah,
Like 20 minutes, you're just asking yourself, who am I? And watching yourself for 20 minutes, I guarantee you, you'll strip away some layers. You'll get somewhere different.
definitely.
If you go behind the observer, you keep asking, who am I? Can you get to like, can you get to nothing?
Or to everything.
Maybe that's the same thing. I mean,
Maybe that's yeah.
maybe,
Behind the eye probably is just this eternal connection, the eternal love, because the only reason for being an I is separation. So still awareness must be something separate because it's something that represents you on a higher level, but it still represents a fragment of all that is. So
yeah.
in that case, the only thing which is behind the I is the all.
The separation, sure, it exists in a way, but it's like if you're emphasizing the borders of like the eye, like you're emphasizing the permanence of this human being, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
But I don't know if you just think about this chronologically. Where were you 30 years ago? and then before that, you're nothing. Or
Yeah.
maybe, but were you nothing? Or is it just the idea that you are something, that now you are something? Because all of that same matter that is inside of you right now, all those atoms and particles, they still existed other places in the world, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's just the now you've categorized yourself as something, but it's like really it's just a conglomeration of matter in a specific way, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm a cocktail. It's just a mix. And even that changed all the time. So if we consider that our body cells exchange every couple of years, at least I guess most of them. So there's not too much left at the end of the day, which you have from the very beginning until the very end of your lifespan. So you
Yeah.
exchange, and the character, come on, it changed all the time. So I'm not the same person as I have been when I was 4 years old or even
Yes.
10 years ago.
But that I think that like people when you say that, like I'm a different person than I was, people are like, oh, but like I'm still like the same human being, but like my mind has just changed or something. But literally, I think you are different and you just don't realize it
Yeah, I mean,
physically.
how can you even say that you are the same being? This I don't understand. I don't get that because everything changed.
People find that threatening. You know, they want to feel like they have a self. They want to feel like that there's something constant here, that like there's still Joe Smith from birth until death, you know, that they have that idea. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
I know, but to me it sounds terrifying.
What?
Yeah, this that you have to stuck to this one identity. I think this is
Yeah.
so limiting.
But people, why do you think people are so like afraid that that's possibly not true?
It feels like a fear of freedom.
Because there is like when I think about it, I can feel part of me resisting it.
Yeah.
But I know, but then there's part of me that wants the freedom and the openness.
Hmm.
And I know how freeing and good that is and how it feels. But there's still like part of me that I can feel resisting it too. So it's something like
Yes.
naturally about the process, I think.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe it's what people call the fear of the unknown. That people are afraid of the things that they don't know, which isn't real. So I was thinking a lot about this fear of the unknown because it doesn't make sense because we are only afraid of the things that we do know. So we are kind of afraid to find what we know, but what we don't like in the unknown because it's
Hmm.
impossible to be afraid of something that you don't
Yeah.
know. It's a
We're
paradox.
it's like we're afraid of being present later in an unpleasant state, you
Yes,
know?
that you find
It,
something that you
it's
don't like.
yeah, it's still the presence, it's still the present moment that you're scared of, but it's just like a future present moment,
Yeah, true.
you know?
Are we probably scared of being present in general?
Are you, I don't know if this is something you would be open to talking about, and you can let me know right away if you're not, but have you experimented with psychedelics at all?
Well, that's a great question. You know why? Because I didn't until yesterday. So I tried it for the very first.
Really?
Yes. I
Wow.
Yeah, I just tried it yesterday evening and I didn't feel anything.
Really?
So,
Interesting.
yeah.
I think psychedelics are like, I don't know what it is, but psychedelics can just strip away all this crap that we think that we've been talking about, this resistance, this identity, this like self-concept. It is crazy how powerfully it can just dissolve it all and
Did
put
did
you in a state.
did you try?
Yeah, I've done psychedelics a couple times. The state of mind that it puts you in is this awakened state in a way, but it's like only for a few hours.
It's like a direct transport.
Yes, kind of. If you have that intent, because a lot of people use it to have fun, to go party or something, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
this is crazy." But if you have the intention of using it to open your mind and get to a state of being that's greater than to the awakened state. I'm just going to say the awakened state, even
Yeah.
though it's controversial to say that, but it just puts you in the awakened state if you
Was
have
it
that intention.
was it what you felt that you were present when you used them?
It shows you reality for what it is very intensely. And it doesn't, but it can like show you reality in segments very intensely. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? Like an experience that I had on my last psychedelic trip was I looked in the mirror
Mm-hmm.
and I saw myself for who I really was for a moment. In a way, it showed me a new part of my identity that I hadn't known was there. It showed me the truth of my
Oh,
personality. It
yeah.
showed me a feminine part of myself. It showed
Really?
me, yes, this very gentle,
Yeah.
loving, and feminine part of myself that I think in the past I've been conditioned by society and my family to be a man, to be a masculine man, to be very, fit the gender role of a man.
Yeah,
But inside of me, I think inside of everyone, there's the feminine, gentle, loving part as well.
of course. Yes.
And so on the psychedelic, it showed me what I had been resisting about who
Wow.
I really was.
But it's actually a great part within ourselves, and maybe it's really harmful for us to resist it all the time because I also believe this gentle and loving part. This is something very connecting. That's a very connecting energy,
Yes,
and it doesn't
absolutely.
mean that you are not a man when you when you have this
Yeah,
energy within you because actually we have both energies anyway. So
right. This idea of man and woman, or like feminine and masculine, once again, are just like ideas, categories, and separations. Which if we're on our path to awakening, of opening ourselves up, we're trying to kind of let those categories go in a way,
mhm,
just to be, because the reality is I'm both masculine and feminine,
exactly, yeah, yeah.
and that's the truth. But people they like categories, and it feels safe and normal to them because that's what they've been conditioned to think.
Yeah, I think there are certain traits or yeah, it's characteristics probably that are attached to this energy. So as you said, like this calming energy, for example, which is just the feminine one, but I think we don't need to educate ourselves to get there because I believe it is natural. I was also once thinking about when people told, okay, you need to behave like, not to me personally, but like in general in conversation, you need to behave like this so guys like you. And I'm always sitting like that. And I think like, ugh, no, I don't think so because I think you have it naturally. So you don't need to learn to behave in a certain feminine way because this is the energy that you are born with that. So you just shouldn't resist it. And the problem is depending on the education that you have, because sometimes as a girl or as a boy, you grow up somewhere, and probably there is trauma around. Probably people don't want you to express your masculine energy, for example, so they will push you into another direction. And then you will think this is something bad. So we are always resisting the natural flow of our own energy.
Yeah,
And then we need to build this kind of education, this ways of education that tell us again how to behave, how to be, so the other part likes us. And I think it's all of that is crap. I think we just need to let it go and to flow with the natural energies that we
yeah.
have.
I like that idea that you were talking about how we don't need to like educate ourselves. It's not something to like figure out by thinking about it.
Yeah,
It's like it's a state that you experience. It's an experience more so than like something that you can think about that.
definitely. Yeah, thinking makes it complicated and thinking is resistance. So if we need to think about it, it's already strange because we don't need to think about our nature. I don't need to think if I'm breathing. If I start thinking if I'm breathing, then I start breathing in a really, really weird way and
Yeah.
probably I die. I don't know, but it gets strange. So some things are just natural.
I think the way out of that trap of thinking about it is to just start watching yourself. Is to watch, like, if you're stuck thinking, just like let yourself think and start watching yourself and allow that observation to take place. And then you can
Yeah.
start to fall back into the observer mindset. So
Mhm.
even if you're still thinking, you can watch yourself think, or you can watch yourself, like right now I can observe myself talking to you. I can
Mhm.
observe my mouth opening and closing. I can observe my body, how it's sitting, but yet it's still
Yeah.
flowing on its own. And
Mhm.
then that allows me to get into a flow state.
And then there's this other point that we have a different distribution of energy. So we have the masculine, the feminine energy, and no, it's not always 50-50, maybe never, I don't know. So it's always,
Yeah.
and maybe even changing. And I think that's fine. I mean, that's the thing why we are all different. So the mix of this energy and how it comes into play, it's different for every person. And that's something good, I guess. So otherwise it wouldn't be like that. And yeah, it's just really weird how people try to push everything into roles, to push everything
Yeah.
into,
If people would let go more, it's like people want to feel good fundamentally. People want to feel good,
yeah,
you know. But the way that they go about it, I think, is all wrong. They're trying to like exert their what they think onto the world about how things should be, and then they start resisting, and then they feel bad. So it's very counterintuitive. But what you need to do to actually feel good is just to let go and surrender to whatever is happening to reality of the situation, surrender to the flow, and then. But that's exactly what people are resisting. But that's the thing that will make you feel good. You
yeah,
know?
and that's the, I think that this is the same what we were talking about in the beginning, fear of the unknown, because I think many people are afraid of surrendering because they are afraid that they will get into a situation that they can't control.
Yeah, I wonder if that's like an evolutionary thing that we've evolved to have a fear of the unknown, and that's just a natural struggle of being a human being that you're gonna have to overcome if you're
Right.
human. Maybe that's something that just is natural and inherent to us.
Probably yes, because we have such a strong mind. This mind became so protective. So it always suspects a danger somewhere. It must be something evolutionary because this is how humans survived. It's not like we are extremely strong or extremely fast. So it was just by adapting to circumstances. And for adapting, you need to be smart, you need to be intelligent. So I guess this
Yeah,
is how the mind evolved. And it
right,
right now we are not really living in danger. So we don't have this tiger around us that tries to eat us. So
right.
we don't need to deal with that kind of stuff anymore too much. But the mind is still running wild and it's searching for this danger to protect us. And since there is no natural danger anymore, it searched for the danger in our everyday life.
I just wonder if it's something that can be shed, that can be gotten rid of, or if it's just something that you have to come to accept, and maybe in the acceptance of it, it can go away temporarily. I don't think.
Mm,
Do you think it's possible to like be in an awakened, blissful state 24/7?
mm-mm.
I
No.
don't think so either. I think it's not practical either for living because, I mean, I don't know. Maybe we don't, maybe living isn't important in the universal perspective. Doesn't matter if I live or die. But as a human being, it is important that I survive and I put food in my body. So if I'm constantly in an awakened state where I can just bliss out on life and sit there and just love my experience right now, and I'm not going to feed myself, I'm not going to take care of myself. So I think it's not practical to be in that state all of the time.
I think the more we are in that state, the more we will evolutionary change, and probably our bodies will need less food. Could be like that. Probably this is what that's just a crazy thought right now.
Okay.
But
No,
maybe this,
no, no. Let's go with it.
yeah, let's
But
play with that. Maybe this is this ascension thing. So maybe if you turn more into this state of love, if you become more of that, then maybe evolutionary your body and what it needs will change. Not in one generation, probably. I don't know, but long term.
But we also have the problem of obesity too. So we are in a space where first world countries in particular have an abundance of food where they can, so I don't
Yeah.
know if honestly, I don't know if I can totally get on board with that idea,
Mm.
but I think that it's not necessary to evolve to like, I think where we are right now, we can get to absolute truth at some point.
hmm Yeah, the question is if we can keep it. And
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's the question.
yeah, if you can stay like that. Well, maybe it's easier, when you are a monk on a hill alone by yourself
Yeah.
and just cleaning floors the whole time or just with a few people. That makes it easier than as if you are surrounded by people all the time,
Well,
dealing
I
with
think
their stress.
the universe allows for a human being to exist. The laws of the universe allow for a human being to be a thing that exists in the universe. So, and I think if that exists in the absolute truth, in a way, then I think it's okay for us to kind of be asleep as well. It's like it's okay if you're asleep or awake because it doesn't really matter
hmm
unless you have that personal goal of being awake. So I think if the absolute truth is the universe and everything that exists, I guess absolute truth is just absolute truth, just everything or
Yeah,
nothing. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah, 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 yeah,
And that allows for me to be an asleep human being that doesn't know its true nature, that doesn't know that I'm not separate from everything else. It allows for that. So I think in a way it's okay to be asleep too, and that there's not that there shouldn't be is it right or wrong to be awake or asleep? I don't think so.
yeah. I don't think so either. Well, there's the theory which I feel a lot is that if we are fragments of the universe, then it's about experience because this is how the universe experiences and sees itself. And experience means both. It means being awake and being asleep. It's the duality of things. And you can only experience duality if there is an asleep, if there is an unconsciousness as well. So it cannot be wrong to be unconscious then. It is just where pain comes from. It is just this shadow. So, but it belongs to
Right.
life. It's not wrong. No.
Right.
It's just something that we judge, for example, in other people. So if other people are mean, bad, do bad things in the world, it comes from unconsciousness, right? It doesn't come from connection.
Right.
And we used to judge that a lot. So on a big scale, it's difficult to say that because people can judge that, but it's not wrong to do bad things because bad things are a sign of unconsciousness, and unconsciousness
Yeah.
is what we are here to experience as well.
Right. Yeah. So all the evil that has been done throughout history, all the evil that ever has existed, and it, like killing somebody,
Yeah,
we think as a human being that's bad, morally wrong. But I think universally, if you go to the absolute truth level, I think there's no right or wrong, and that
yeah,
they're just actions. And but I mean, as a
yeah,
human being, it's important if we
yeah.
because the world and most humans aren't at that level of awareness. I think it's practical that we have some sort of relative right and wrong as a human being.
I often believe that we think that things are wrong or right. So let's say we sometimes have values that don't really belong to us. So we didn't decide to have these values. So we, for example, adapted them from our society, from the society we live in. So there are countries when you live there, you cannot be homosexual, for example. So everyone will judge you for that. So they have the value that this is wrong. Then you have countries that still practice death penalty. Countries that allow drugs, certain drugs, countries that don't, countries that allow alcohol, countries that don't, and so on and so on. So
Right.
thought maybe it's cool to also question, would I choose this value for myself if I could? Because if not, maybe I'm in the wrong country, maybe I'm in the wrong, living in the wrong society. And if it's right, then maybe I'm okay here. And if it's never right, then probably I should build something on my own
Where are you located?
in Germany.
So I'm curious to know why you have like an English speaking podcast, and is your audience mostly English speaking?
I wanted to go international, especially because I was starting talking about this spiritual topics, and I didn't find too many people here who do that, or they do it on a very basic level. And I felt that talking in German would be restrictive somehow.
Yeah. I mean, the US has a pretty big history of this kind of philosophy, and a lot of English speaking nations like Alan Watts,
Oh,
Ram Dass, they're all
Alan was.
yeah. Eckhart Tolle,
Yeah.
they're
Who's
all, I mean,
German?
all
He's
he's
German.
German. He
Yeah, I think
is?
so.
I mean, I guess you find this kind of philosophy really all over the world. There's a big community in like Hawaii. The US doesn't definitely has some like hubs of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Germany doesn't. So it's
So
pretty
I bet you don't think there is anywhere?
no, I can even see that just because of the content that I get through TikTok and YouTube. So of course there are people who talk about spirituality, but it's almost always connected to love relationship topics. It's always about how do I get someone. So it's really this basic level of how can I benefit from spirituality in a direct way,
Yeah.
which from
Versus
yeah.
just the intellectual pursuit on its own is not discussed.
Yeah, it's just how can I get something out of it? How can I wrap my mind around things? And this is exactly what doesn't work. Like the 10 manifestation hacks. I'm like, oh, please don't.
Yeah. Do you know about spiral dynamics?
No.
Spiral dynamics is really, I think it applies here. It's an interesting theory
Yeah.
of ego development.
Hmm.
So there are 8 stages of ego development according to spiral dynamics
Yeah.
that society and human beings can go through and achieve different stages. So the US is mainly at a stage called stage orange, which is like very much it's achievement oriented, and it's like very materialistic, here and now. What can I get? And then
Hmm.
the stage after that is stage green, which then takes into concern of greater systems, taking into concern of like the environment, of it sheds the need for like materialism. And then there's a stage beyond that called stage yellow that is basically, it values truth above everything.
Uh-huh.
And not only do people go through these stages, but societies and countries go through these stages. It's like a well documented thing that like below orange is, what is it, blue, which is very like hierarchical. It's like
Hmm.
religious societies are stage blue. And so as you develop your awareness and your sense of self, you go through these different stages. And like for instance, in the medieval times, it was very hierarchical, it was very religious, rule based. That's
Hmm.
stage blue. It's a very stage blue stage. And then
Interesting.
as you develop, and then you get into the 1700s, you have the French Revolution, 1800. Then you have like democracies rising and taking hold, and that's now more stage orange, and the US is very stage orange. And then you have like Sweden and Norway that are very stage green, very much concerned for the collective, a lot more social projects, a lot
Hmm.
more. And so you keep going. The top level is stage turquoise, which is um, kind of spiritual. It's very much like concerned for absolute truth in the universe, is like the universe's flow of things. And it's just the way that societies can develop over time. It's just like a general, it's not like everybody is in one stage. It just
Yeah.
means like the majority of the population.
I need to look that up. That's so interesting.
I really like that theory.
Yeah.
If you dive into it, I think you can appreciate it.
Maybe then I know where I have to move.
Yeah,
Sweden. No, I don't know.
maybe. I don't know.
yeah, it just reminded me this idea of different color stages. Reminded me the energy description of from fear to love. There is also like
Oh,
you know that?
yeah. Oh, like the Hawking scale.
Yeah.
It goes from fear to love, and then there's all these different like fear to desire to anger, pride, courage, neutrality, willingness, acceptance, reason, and love. Like those are
Yes.
like
I don't know why it's connected to these kind of colors. Do you?
um I think it just looks cool.
Okay.
I don't know.
There are also people who do things like aura reading, for example. I never dived into this topic, like our aura reading, and I wouldn't care if I'm pink or what blue. I don't know. I don't need to know that. But
Yeah.
one time I remember that I was just in the bar, just sitting there, and a friend of mine came and she said, "Oh, I just had an aura reading." I was like, "What?" Yeah, I was at a place and they told me what my aura looks like, and I remember I don't know why I did that. I just grabbed her hand and I said, "You're yellow," and she said, "Oh my God, yeah, she said the same." It was just like an impression of how probably of your energy and how my
Yeah.
brain would translate it into a color. So what I feel, what do I see when I close my eyes? And
Yeah.
something like that. So maybe colors
Hmm.
have a meaning as well.
Maybe there is something to like color. Well, do you know there's some people who have kinesthesia, I think it's called, where you can like hear color or like taste color.
Oh, I've heard that. Yes.
It's like a specific chord on the piano will register a color in someone's mind. And so they can like remember chords by remembering colors,
Oh, that's amazing. I've heard
which is
only
cool.
one time about a woman, and she could really taste color, and she was considered crazy.
I mean, there are manta rays or like sharks that can sense electricity if there's electricity around, you
Yeah.
know? And we're limited by our human form, but maybe some random one in a million people has a random gene mutation that now allows them to sense color on their tongue. I don't
Oh,
know. Or
yeah.
something like that.
I mean, for sure, we are limited within the senses. So we don't hear as much as a bat would hear, for example, or we don't see as much as a butterfly would see color-wise. So we see less than a lot of other animals and maybe more than others. But so we are limited here already, but also maybe we are also limited in mixing the senses. So maybe, yes, colors do have a taste. Maybe colors have sound.
Yeah, but there's something related there. I mean, photons move kind of in a wave. So maybe there, and sound kind of moves in a wave. So maybe there's something
Yeah.
there.
I just thought about waves as well. I thought everything's a wave. So it's just a question how we perceive them.
Well, that's like the basis of string theory, is that if you get down to the fun, you go to the atom, and then you go to the proton, you go to the quark, and you go further and further.
Yeah.
Eventually, you're going to get to just vibrating energy, and that's the basis of everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I truly believe or what I feel. Everything must be it must be something like that. I mean, we cannot um go too deep yet because we just don't have the tools. Yeah, everything is energy. We cannot really say that things are solid, that things are made of matter. This would be
Right.
even ridiculous to say that, although everyone does that. But
True. I mean, you wouldn't know it if you were born 1,000 years ago. You know, this seems very solid and
yes,
real. You know, but with modern science, we know that an atom is 99.9% space.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it's like we
yeah,
know that to be true, but yet we observe it being solid.
yeah. Wasn't there also the thing that you cannot touch anything for real? It just feels
Yes.
like a touch, but it's just the atoms that are pushing each
Yeah.
other away.
Right. It's like it's just, because all atoms will repel each other if they get too close. But so nothing
Yeah,
actually touches.
yeah.
Wait a minute. So if nothing can touch, if nothing can touch, if you go further into the atom, can like the protons and neutrons touch? No. Can you go further than that? Can the quarks touch each other? No. So what is touching anything ever? Which means that the basis of everything is nothing.
Nothing. Yes. Okay.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. The basis of everything is nothing. You can also apply that to sound, for example, because nothing would even make sense. Nothing would even exist without silence. When I would say that silence is, for example, nothing. It's on the hearing level. So silence is nothing, and nothing feels like the space which contains particles of things that we believe to be everything. But everything is a sum of all the things that exist. But probably, yes, the base is nothing. The truth is nothing.
How the heck is that possible?
Actually,
What?
the highest truth to say would be nothing is real.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nothing is
it's
real
real.
and everything is nothing.
Yes.
So I mean it comes down to like non-duality, right? Nothing and everything are the same thing. It's nothing is the basis of everything. Everything is made of nothing.
Yeah.
But we think of something as very physical, it's here, and nothing is nothing. You know,
Yeah.
we have that in our minds, but yet if you can really go back in time as far as you can, maybe you can come to the conclusion that they're the same thing somehow. How the heck? That is crazy.
Yeah, and it's difficult for the mind to understand that because it feels like this truth that we are talking about, it's so much higher than the mind. So it must be like that. But we
Yeah,
cannot understand nothingness. It's impossible to
right.
imagine that because we can only imagine the things that we already deal with.
I mean, because in nothing, there's nothing to observe the nothingness. Because there's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, the question is why nothing decided decided to become something, to create something,
Right.
where this impulse came from. So this is feels like a
That's
paradox.
I think that's I think that's the great question that's been asked forever. It's like, why is this here? You know, like why the heck?
Yes. Why is this here?
That's the main question. Like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
People have been asking for thousands of years.
Yeah.
I
So
think I think people know, I think people have explored this and have came to these conclusions that people are having today thousands of years ago. I don't think this is a new thing that people have just like explored. I think people have known this truth many, many millennia in the past. You know, I mean, come on, it's we as humans are just naturally inquisitive towards this stuff. You can't help it.
yeah, yeah, sure. We are curious. It's not a new thought. And actually whenever I post videos, not whenever, but sometimes people comment on it like, yeah, this or that philosopher already questioned that. Like, yeah, man, I know, or maybe I don't know, it doesn't matter. But it's not about that. I think um the important answer is that nobody figured it out yet. And it's not about if someone questioned it before, but about do you feel that there is something in that there's a truth in this question, or that there is something about it, because there are also many people who don't really question too much, so probably they don't
Yeah.
care. And
Yeah.
so is this a thing for you? Because if you are an expression of this nothing or this everything, if you're an expression of the universe, then I just ask you. I once did a video about that because I always I think, okay, we are expressions of the universe. I have no chance to ask everything at once, or at least I didn't figure out how to do it yet. So I just ask people what they think, because this is part of truth. This is part of the universal truth somehow. And then I tried to bring it all together. I said, okay,
Yeah.
Kant said it, Nietzsche said it, now you said it. There must be something about it because now three
Right.
people already wrote about it.
Yeah.
It's just one fragment or just one idea again. And I don't know if it's possible to prove, but I also know that we will never stop trying.
Yeah. It'll be a question that'll just, as long as humans are around, it's going to be asked. It's
Yeah.
going to be explored.
You want to do something with that topic?
Yeah. So I'm actively working. Why I'm starting my TikTok account and I'm growing that and growing my blog and these different things is because um, I have been coached and trained in different techniques and ways of thinking and ways of getting to a non-dual state. of trying to live in a higher awareness state.
Hmm.
And as I'm learning this, it's like I am finding truths, and I think I'm finding things that are helpful, techniques and philosophies that are so helpful and profound in my life that I'm developing currently a coaching course, a coaching plan to help people raise their level of awareness, to help them raise their consciousness using what I've learned so far. So yeah, I'm hopefully eventually going to start coaching people
Yeah.
through this with different techniques that I've learned. Um, so I mean, that's the dream, is that I'd like to be able to be full time, like an awakening coach of some sort.
Cool. Yeah.
So that'll be launching in a few weeks. I'll be starting to promote that, but yeah, and there are real techniques out there that you can use to
Do you have a
get there.
tip or something that you like
Tip.
to share?
Well, self-inquiry is a really big one,
Yeah.
of just observing yourself and asking, who am I? And asking questions. I think curiosity is really the basic. Observation, curiosity, I think, are the basis of the whole work.
I just thought that's why we got curiosity. I don't think curiosity is something that is part of your self-concept because little kids question
Yes.
everything.
No, or you see an ant exploring your kitchen looking for crumbs. That's
Yes.
it's naturally exploring. It wants to expand. It's whatever. It wants to expand. Our reality, our mind is naturally expansive. It wants to go further. It wants to know more. It wants to get more. It's just expansive. There's
Yeah.
another thing, there's another technique that I've learned recently. It's called deep peat.
Hmm.
And it essentially takes into account that there are separations, that the human mind makes separations. So if you think about what is a conflict in your life, if you have a conflict, what is inherent to a conflict? Two sides. There has to be two things against each other for there to be a conflict,
Hmm.
right? In a war, there's two sides fighting each other. In your mind, if you're conflicted about what flavor of ice cream to get, there's the vanilla and there's the chocolate. Like,
Choice.
which one? There's two sides.
Yeah.
And so Pete takes into account that we create polarities and we create sides to things, and that's what creates all conflict and suffering. So what this technique does is it takes you between both polarities over and over and over in a way that you observe them and revisit them over and over again until eventually you can get to a place where the polarities or the sides merge in your mind and you eliminate it altogether. And then and now you see whatever the conflict was that you had in your mind, you can then view it from a non-dual perspective, and it's a much more peaceful place because you essentially dissolve the conflict completely.
Yeah.
So that's something that I would teach. I mean, there's a couple of
Lovely.
things that I feel like would be really valuable to someone that wants to awaken.
Hmm. Yeah, I think because we were talking about is um yeah, is our longing for awakening something right, or is staying unconscious something wrong? And I just thought nothing of it is wrong or right, as we already said, but our longing for awakening is something very, very natural. It feels like it's a natural born drive because of this aspect of curiosity. So we want to know, is there something more to life? Is there something else?
Yeah,
We get born with that already. So it feels like this is our
yeah.
ticket home, if nothingness or unity, if this is our natural state, the state of connection, of love, however we want to call it, then it feels like curiosity and the longing for awakening is our ticket. It's our compass. So this is,
Exactly.
yeah,
And that's where like intuition comes into play. It's your
mhm,
natural, where do you feel pulled? That's all you really need, is just start exploring what intrigues you.
yeah. So then getting into the awakening state would be something right somehow because we are already um, we want it because this is what we are longing for. It
I mean,
is
I don't know if like right is like the right word for
the
it, but
right word.
it's it's like I see what you're saying is that like it's aligned with true reality.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Yeah, because there are also people who probably prefer to stay in the state of unconsciousness, who think we are crazy, who would think, why would I even start meditation? That's strange. And I know many people who they don't really judge that, I would say. But when they see what I do, or that I did a lot of meditation work, but just for myself, and it's not like I'm running around telling people they need to turn on their candles or something like that. It's not like that at all. It's just that they know that I'm into that kind of stuff, how they would call it. They are okay with
Yeah.
it, but they would say, okay, that's nothing for me. I don't want that. I'm
Mhm.
too much in my head. I like being in my head. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
Also fine, but
Right.
permanent conflict with everything.
Yeah. Exactly. Because if you're constantly living in duality, I mean, then you're just setting yourself up for conflict. And if you could
Yes,
start to experience more non-duality or try to dissolve the separations in your life, then you're setting yourself up to live a more peaceful and joyful life.
maybe it's a matter of decision. So, especially when people want to book a session with you, for example, and they are completely new in that topic, so they don't know anything about it.
They
They
don't know
just know,
anything.
yeah, you don't know anything. You just know I'm stressed and
Yeah.
something's wrong here and I want to feel better and I don't know
Yeah.
how, then this would already be a nice idea just, because you are doing meditation with people as well, right? So they could,
Yes.
for example, say, okay, I want to do it with you. You have a good voice, so I can do a guided thing with you and just try that to see what it is from afar a bit online.
Yeah. Or, I mean, they can try it, and then if it's not for them, then they know that that's not the direction for their life. But
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Like right or wrong, like I don't know if it's really right or wrong because everyone really is different. And I know, like my sister, for example, just isn't in tune with this stuff. She doesn't quite like care about it. She's happy
Okay.
being asleep, and so we've talked about this. I'm like, oh, but it's so good. It'll make you feel happy and peaceful or whatever. She's just like, I'm happy being a human on this earth as I am, and I'm happy that I knowing that I'm gonna die one day and nothing's gonna happen to me, and that's it. And she's like, in a way, she's found peace in acceptance of just her reality, which is, I think, one way that the universe wants to experience itself.
Yeah.
You know?
But would you say she's in conflict? Because this sounds kind of peaceful.
I don't know. She's a very peaceful energy,
Hmm.
in general. It's just maybe her way of going about it.
So maybe you can also have a peaceful sleep.
True, maybe you can. I mean, I'm sure there's an infinite number of options of how the universe wants to experience itself.
Yeah. So many truths.
Really good
Yeah, it was
being on this
amazing.
podcast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was amazing. And I wish you all the best for starting this project now. Thank you very much.
Thank
And
you so much.
enjoy your day.
All right, sounds good. You too.